in the term of environmental issue, and due to non-degradability, and biocomposite is one of the solutions. Biocomposite or natural fiber composite, they have advantage like recyclability, lightweight, low environmental footprints, and cost effectiveness. And in the bottom part of this slide, this is the picture of the example of the biocomposite product. Okay, our aim is to move from petroleum-based composite to biocomposite. And as we know, in Malaysia is a tropical country. We are blessed with abundant resources of natural fiber. For example, canna, oil palm, banana, as mentioned by our Dean just now, and processed coconuts, green corn and shell, sugarcane, cassava, roselle, betelnut, pineapple leaf, durian skin, cocoa pod, sugar palm, rice husk, water hyacinth, seaweed. These are examples. We have been working on this material as fiber for biocomposite. Okay, now I'll move slightly, the title is a bit different on the design for manufacture, DFN or DFX. Okay, Henry Ford developed car and was the pioneer of automotive industry. He was considered a concurrent engineer, meaning that he designed a car and also fabricated, manufactured a car. We call it design for X as well. Why? Because during his time, the factory was small with few parts, and he was involved in design as well as the manufacturing of car. Okay, it is believed that, strongly believed, Henry Ford considered all the manufacturing related activity at the very stage of the product development process, which is the essence of concurrent engineering or design for X. So in these figures, you can see design for X can refer to design for assembly, design for testing, etc. And one of them is design for sustainability. Okay? Design for sustainability is a design approach that aims to reduce the negative impact of design on the environment and designing to improve the quality of life today without compromising the quality of life of tomorrow. So this is the essence of the design for sustainability. So we can conclude from design for sustainability. And in 1930, as he and his team developed a car body panel from natural fiber reinforced soybeans biopolymer composite. We notice that this is 100% from bio-based composite, biopolymer composite. Okay, and this is the car that was developed by Henry Ford back in 1930. This is 100% natural fiber composite. The polymer is from soya. There's starch biopolymer and the fiber from hemp. Okay. However, after some time, the project was abandoned due to more economic reason rather than environmental reason. Okay. The engagement with industry in biocomposite products. So I will touch a bit on daily waste from biocomposite shoes. For biocomposite shoes and miswap holder and office chair, which is a collaboration that we carried out with an international company from US, automotive material bar and other products. Okay, this is the work from literature on biocomposite from cotton daily waste for footwear component. The cotton daily waste presents great opportunity for recycling. Clothes factory in Toricama, Brazil, Toricama City in Brazil developed biocomposite from cotton daily waste, the shredded as well as powder fiber for the application in the footwear component. Biocomposite layers from daily waste were used in footwear component. In soft composite is used in insole and condensed composite in two parts. This is an example of how use the dead waste, you know, and I think this is your industry. So, but this is more specific to our work. It's one of the consultancy works, the traditional toothbrush. I mean, you find a lot in Pakistan. So there's one work with one company. They engage us to, you know, develop the holder 100% from biocomposite. So the current miswak is a cleaning tricks made from Salvador, and the company seek the solution to properly store the miswak tweak compared to the current methods. The company also embarked in using natural biocomposite material. So what they want is the holder or casing which eliminate weakenings during storage. The casing using natural material which can cheaply be disposed. 1 unit of holder for each twigs, and preferably pen or pocket size, easy to store and high aesthetic value and easy to use by the user. So these are the requirements. These are things you are familiar with. Okay, now we have carried out the conceptual design using TRIS method. I think the Russian method called TRIS, but I don't have time to go into detail about the conceptual design. So we come up with a detailed design. This is the sketch, and this is the body and the cap. Made from the same material as a twig. You know, the fiber is made from the twig, but the polymer is made from PLA, which is 100% bio-based polymer composite. So the final prototype is submitted to our customer. Is the bespoke PLA, meaning that all these components, the casing is made from the same twig, as well as we also use the wood PLA composite. If you know, the wood is also, you know, bio-based, and plus PLA is 100% compared to PLA pure. This is the final product that we submitted to our company. Okay, the next is on the small, you know, serious project on the real company, the company manufacturing the furniture based in the US. So how the global industry is responding to the sustainability requirement, you know, that we are talking, you know, especially in the composite industry. The case study of Kenaf PLA biocomposite office chair. So Staircase is a company. So we deal with the Asia Pacific Staircase, making the biocomposite chair, and then the collaborative work funded by the company itself as well as by the Malaysian government. So the scope of the research is to carry out the characterization of the Kenaf PLA composite for the application of office chair. The second part is the publication of Kenaf PLA biocomposite office chair with 100% biocomposite chair in PLA and Kenaf. They are all, plant-based, for the sake of reducing the carbon footprint. And also, the company emphasized that we should carry out life cycle assessment of Kenaf PLA biocomposite office chair to assess the environmental impact. So there's 2 and 3 are ongoing. The first one is being completed. So this is what is our aim: is to from Kenaf we want to make chair. And I think some of you know about this process. I think it's available also here. During injection molding, where we carried out the preparation using also twins extruder the compounding, and then we do injection molding, and we test the composite, and then we have the sample for mechanical testing and other testing. So this is also again how the process took place, and this is one of the design process that is performed by the company. That's all I can give because it's still confidential. The work is confidential. And okay, Malaysia and Indonesia, we are the leading producers of world's palm. Okay, I have my colleague here from Abra, from Indonesia. I'm from Malaysia. So we have abundance of this biomass in the form of fronds or fresh fruit bunch, or the trunk, quite a lot. So what happened? The researcher make the product like this, we play on oil palm and biopolymer. This is a small scale of packaging. Okay? And also, this is another example of molded glass from oil palm. But we were approached by the Sandari, and Sandari is a big company, international company in Malaysia, big company in Malaysia. So they are producers of oil palm oil. So they approached us, this is the market to make the helmet, for safety helmet for those, the workers, plantation workers. So we carried out product design, conceptual design, prototype, etc. Prototyping with a team in different from different industries, from different universities, with different background, come up with a concept, and then we carried out the fabrication process. Obviously, we did just by hand layout. We submitted the prototype to the company, and then we do some kind of improvement, and we submitted to them. They are considering to mass produce it. Okay. And another project, with industries, as you know, that brought on is Malaysian national car, the first Malaysian national car. So we have some budget from big grant from our university to do collaborative work with Proton to develop glass fiber and sugar palm, which is plant-based product, and we hybridize them and with polymer to make anti-roll bar. Okay. This is the product marked in red. This is anti-roll bar. Okay, this is the sugar palm. Normally we don't use this fiber. This is just throwing. Some people in Indonesia they make this as rope and roof. But generally in Malaysia they don't use it. But we try to make use of this fiber and to make product and do testing. Even we convert to the cellulose and other cellulose. Okay, to make biocomposite. So this is one of the attempt, that we have made, that we make the preform of sugar palm fiber with glass fiber in that fashion, and then we fabricated this using resin transformer. Yeah? And then this is the final product that we submitted to the program. Okay, another project that we carried out on biopolymer composite is the development of Putra frame. Putra is our university name, Putra, after our first Prime Minister, Putra. So Putra frame. Just simple frame. What you have there, but nothing special. But we make it green by having part of the material from natural fiber, which is enough. But we mix with a high density polyethylene, which is synthetic, polymer. But because the enough cloth is used in the frame, it's become something which is very special. People want to buy, many orders we receive, from different organizations. So in biocomposite, when you talk about commercialization, anything, you just think about certain thing and you try to work on that. This is what we just mentioned to you. You don't think that, okay, the waste from denim or even sugarcane, bagasse, it's no use. I came here 4 years ago. Here, many research was on synthetic fiber compost, glass fiber, carbon fiber. But we have done this effort, on using natural fiber composite for 20 years. We have our own journal, Journal of Natural Fiber Polymer Composite. We have a society related to that. So we think that it's very important, and a lot of opportunity. Even simple product like this is being, accepted by the people. Okay, this is the process. Again, we use injection molding, and we have a good assembly and also packaging. Okay, very presentable. and was launched by the former Minister of Agriculture, was successful. Okay, I think I was finished. Circular economy in biocomposite. Circular economy is a concept currently promoted by Europe in 1962 by several countries, including China, Japan, etc. So development should be integrated within circular economy to ensure a sustainable product that is simultaneously not harmful toward the environment. So this is the model for circular economy. So from resources, manufacturing, consumption, and recycling. And this is more specific to biocomposite. The concept is quite similar to the previous one: biopolymer powder, biopolymer pellets, and then product biopolymer waste. And go back to the composting, and it's a cycle. Okay. Now I got a message to stop, but I have just a few more slides to cover. So current circular economy can be defined as economic model aimed at efficient use of resources through waste minimization, long-term value retention, reduction of primary resources. Okay, the circular economy focuses on returning waste residue back to the production process by shifting classical business production pattern from linear to circular behavior. And as far as biocomposite is concerned, for example, vanillin polarized solid residues remaining after the starch extraction from Chinese sweet potatoes by using it as a filler in polymer composite. The biocomposites are completely derivable from sweet potato waste, and this effectively meeting the demand for closed-loop material for the circular economy. Okay, this more review. I'm not going to detail. So, the increasing demand for the use of natural resources in biocomposite manufacturing is the example of the need for the circular economy in biocomposite that also allow for their recycling and reuse. Okay, the benefit of recycling in circular economy, again, it impact the economy, society, as well as the environment. Okay, the final topic on the life cycle assessment. What is life cycle assessment? It's just a systematic and comprehensive method for evaluating the environmental impact of a product, process, or activity throughout its entire life cycle. And the life cycle includes raw material extraction, manufacturing, distribution, use, and end-of-life disposal. And this is the life cycle assessment from the raw material extraction, manufacturing, use, and back to the disposal. And LCA is used to test the product in the circular economy model to reveal the limitation and the effect of factors such as global warming, water use, and climate change. Okay, there are cradle to factory, cradle to gauge, cradle to grade, and then this is the model in ISO 14040, and we have post-step life cycle assessment frame, goal and scope, inventory analysis, impact assessment, and interpretation. And these are the steps. We use it for, life cycle assessment of sugar palm fiber reinforced sago biopolymer composite take out good container. First, we define the goal and scope, and then life cycle inventory, and then life cycle as impact assessment and interpretation. Okay, I will conclude now. Design process sustainability is based on a combination of product innovation and sustainability, and the concept can be applied by industries to produce products from biocomposite. The main idea behind the circular economy model in recycling biocomposite is to accomplish the synergy between growing economic society and environment. By exploiting the LCA in biocomposite, it can be optimized to be more environmentally friendly materials. Okay, I would like to thank my university, UPS in Malaysia, and you for the invitation, Ministry of Education, and the sponsor from the industry. And this is such a recent book that we published on plant-based, animal-based, and mineral-based biocomposite. And this is like new books on biopolymer composite, renewable energy, sustainable renewable composite, biocomposite, composite from aquatic environment, and additive manufacturing. So published recently 2 books. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to invite Dr. Ilana James from Northumbria University, United Kingdom, to highlight the importance of circular fashion. Redefining the global textile value chain. Have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
So good afternoon. I'm absolutely delighted to be here today. So I'm absolutely delighted to be here today. I'm very privileged to be invited to address the conference in this plenary session. I've been told I've got to take 10 minutes, so I'm going to be cutting my 20 minutes now. We'll get there eventually. So I'm going to start framing the conversations that we're going to be having over the next couple of days. And I'm going to be doing this within a much larger circularity framework. So the many initiatives, technological developments and business models that we'll be discussing over the next couple of days are contributing to the much greater goal of circularity within the fashion and textile industry. However, this framework itself is a very moving feature, as we all know. We've got emerging legislation, rules of regulatory compliance, and mandatory standards that we all need to be meeting. Furthermore, the achievement of these requirements will need a unified, collaborative, and inclusive approach to circularity across the global value chain. I'll share with you today a summary of the challenges that lie ahead to us as an industry and how we need to address these as a matter of urgency. I'm going to quickly introduce myself just so we know who we're talking to. So I'm Dr. Ilana James, as I was introduced from Northumbria University, the largest represented university here today. And I specialise in sustainable design innovation across the fashion and textiles value chain. So I use design to create sustainable innovation within this much larger system. I'm also director of the £3.1 million project that recently got funded in 2023 for the Impact Plus Network, and I'll talk a little bit more around that in just a moment. But my work tends to work at the intersection between design and environmental science. Designers are fantastic, but we can't solve these big global issues alone, so that collaboration is certainly needed. And the current challenges that we're addressing through our project is through the collation, the assessment and the analysis of environmental assessment impact. And that is across products, processes and behaviours in the global fashion industry. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit more around the project. So the Impact Plus Network is part of a much larger UK government initiative. And I wanted to share some details with you on this today to emphasise the scale of dedicated investment in shifting the fashion and textiles industry to circular ways of working within a UK context. Additionally, I wanted to emphasise that this is a collective effort, with the programme assembling expertise across the industry, academia and third sector organisations to enable this required change. So 3 research councils have been brought together to show strength in disciplinary ways of working, and again emphasising the need for collective action across not only sectors but in disciplinary fields of knowledge as well. So the image that you'll see on the screen demonstrates that we've been funded by a much larger 10-year vision by the UK government. So this is a 2-year, £15 million trilateral programme bringing together 3 different research councils. So the Arts and Humanities Research Council, Innovate UK, and also the Natural Environment Research Council. So this is the scale and investment that the UK government is really trying to plough into making the fashion and textile industry as circular as possible. So through the Impact Plus Network, we've been taking a much closer look at existing measurement tools being utilised to help direct and implement these circular mechanisms. But we've identified a huge amount of challenges along the way. So So the image on the screen, which I don't particularly expect you to be able to read in any detail, but this demonstrates the relationship and the flow of data between these existing tools, including life cycle assessment, footprint modelling, LCA databases, eco-labels and rating systems. And it also begins to distinguish between assessment tools, data sources and communication platforms as well. So this complex mapping, believe it or not, is a simplified version of the work that we're carrying out at the moment. So as we know, there's current existing numerous methods, numerous metrics and measurements that are being utilised to measure our environmental impact across the value chain. But without a standardised system or test method, and in the absence of baselines and thresholds, these measurements remain largely meaningless. They also often silo data, preventing comparability across measurements, and ultimately fail to give a true picture of the impact created by any one product. Critically, it is these measurement tools which are largely unreliable, inaccurate and ineffective, which are guiding industry and policymakers to make critical decisions, invest time, effort and of course finance. To put it simply, we are trying to implement circular principles into a value chain where the true environmental impact across products, processes and behaviours are not known. So I'm just going to summarise some of the legislative landscape that we're dealing with. So this is one of the frameworks, it's one of the challenges and variables that are critically being addressed by the fashion and textile industry. So last year alone, there were 16 new legislations discussed just in an EU context. And the implementation of those is as early as this year onwards. So we are now coming to the realisation as well that self-regulation may not be an option by as early as the end of this year. So this range of new legislation coming into focus is cutting greenhouse gases, emissions and waste. So the resilience to climate impacts is ever urgent and ever more needed, especially after the severe weather that we saw across the world in 2023. And obviously that affected quite significantly the stability of the supply chain, including garment worker safety and global retail sales, which is anticipated to grow to $65 billion and apparel exports at risk by 2030. So with 70% of EU's textiles being manufactured in Asia, the impact of these changing EU regulations are having a domino effect, a knock-on effect globally, and that's why I'm going to bring that to your attention today to discuss it in more detail. So I'm going to summarise some of the emerging legislation that we have going on at the moment. So within the EU context in particular, within a product design sector, we have the Eco-Design for Sustainable Products Regulation, or the ESPR, and that's coming into next year. So these are a set of standards that are coming into all products that are sold in the EU, and these are referring to recyclability, durability, reusability, repairability, and the use of hazardous substances. And as part of this, we're also seeing the introduction of the digital product passport, which will increase visibility and transparency. But again, as we know, the global supply chain is hugely complex and therefore hugely complex to implement. Within a marketing context, the new EU Green Claims Code Directive is aiming to eradicate greenwashing or the miscommunication of sustainability information. So this is evidenced also in the UK through the Green Claims Code. France is quite pioneering in this, so France is also leading the way here with the inclusion of carbon labels, which has already been implemented on all garments sold in the country. And within that, we also need to consider waste. So less than 1% of the global fashion textiles produced are recycled. And an amendment to the Waste Framework Directive calls for the expansion of extended producer responsibility, so to finance the collection, sorting and recycling of textile waste. So as you can see, these have huge financial and logistical implications. There's also quite a significant change in the way that we're going to be reporting our environmental impact as well. So there's been a significant increase in the volume of corporate and environmental, social and governance, or ESG disclosure. Companies are very much struggling to have that traceability and that transparency within their supply chains. And also the data that's being provided is significantly standardized framework. So again, we need that data, that reliability, those test methods and thresholds to be there in the first place before any of these regulations and legislations can be effectively implemented. Moving on to traceability, so achieving full regulatory compliance requires full visibility, traceability and accountability, and that again refers back to that digital product passport that I referred to earlier. But a lack of transparency, especially over tiers 3 and 4, prohibits a lot of this access to information, and especially reliable and standardized data. And finally, PEF. PEF is a huge topic of conversation in the EU and Europe. So the Product Environmental Footprint Guides, and this measures environmental performance of all products. But again, these are all kind of very interrelated. We need that traceability, we need that transparency, we need that reliability of data and measurements and thresholds in order to be able to encompass all these emerging legislations that we're seeing. So I'm trying to break this down into some of the challenges that lie ahead for us all as an industry. So, as you all have seen, we're a very, very small snapshot today. We have a huge proliferation of standards that we need to start encompassing within all our operations. But we have a lack of unified and verified global standards to act as a framework towards that circular business model which we're all ultimately aiming for. There's also a huge amount of confusion as a result of this. So, which legislation applies to me, which one doesn't, does the EU one apply to me, how does this differ? And then consumers, I mean, how are they ever going to understand this very complex landscape if we don't understand it ourselves? We've also got the scope of impact, so the breadth of the measurement needs to diversify. We know through the LCA models that we're using at the moment that they don't encompass all environmental impacts. And a couple of examples of this would be microfiber fragmentation, end-of-life impacts, and the impact of any garments which are ultimately exported overseas. There's also a huge cost of engagement, so all of these mechanisms, all of these standards, the certifications, the eco-labels, they come with a huge price tag attached. So we have payable for data, we have cost of certification, but we also have a compliance expectation of brands and the suppliers within the relevant supply chain, many of which you aren't prepared to foot the bill. So the cost of engagement is very significant in this. But we also have the speed of implementation to tackle with. So preparation is key. We need to understand the landscape as it is at the moment before this legislation is implemented. That kind of knee-jerk reaction will no longer suffice. We need to prepare and put these preparations in place before these legislations go into action. So speed of response, compromise, meaningful engagement and efficient engagement as well. So, I want you to finish today, not on a down note because I feel like being very negative, but I want you to leave you with a call to action. So small incremental steps are very much needed in this shift towards circularity. We know that it's a huge, complex global challenge, and it's these incremental, smaller steps that will help us move towards that. But it also takes a collective, collaborative, and inclusive approach to urgently needed stakeholders across the global value chain coming together to take on these challenges. But we can no longer just come together to talk and discuss. Conferences used to be a great place to do that, but we need to translate that discussion into action. So I'm hoping when we leave the conference tomorrow, we'll all have a list of urgent actions we can take away with us with renewed energy from these sessions to start enacting the change from our own perspectives towards achieving a much greater goal of circularity. Thank you for your time.
Moving forward to our next talk on the topic, Simple, Sustainable, Circular Supply Chain. And for that, I would like to request Dr. John Arthur, Consultant, United Kingdom, to please grace our stage.
that's what. Roughly speaking, I can do this. I can stand the same on the ceiling. I'm going to refrain from greeting you in the interest of time, but please greet me. Come and talk to me. I would really like that. The title of this talk is on. Ooh. Oh, now we're talking. Why did nobody else get this privilege? Right. Okay, now you see me in all my glory. This talk is about complexity, but we'll get to that. This talk is about circular economy and circular supply chain reasoning, but we'll get to that. This talk is about supplier risk, and particularly the tools that are needed to react effectively to supplier risk, but we'll come to that. Complexity, circular supply chains, and supply chain risk all have something in common, and there's a little warning here because you're not expecting what they have in common, but don't worry. They have what I would call the 3 V's as part of a 5 V structure. Consultants always start everything with the same letter. But these are the right V's: validity, veracity, and verisimilitude. And I want to talk to you about those today in terms of the modelling, the design, and the success of a circular supply chain for fashion or for anything else. And what I want to say is that if you embrace these, what you will embrace is a complexity. And I'm using that as a noun, probably for the first time in history, but forgive me. You will embrace the complexity. I'm going to use 3 case studies to speak about this, and then I'll say a few closing remarks. There'll be one from aviation, there'll be one from automotion, and there'll be one from fast-moving consumer goods. Let's talk about validity, the validity of one's arguments. Everybody knows that in commercial aviation, since it was founded in the 1960s, accidents for aircraft have been in free fall. We've seen a rapid decrease because mainly the cause of accidents was engineering faults with the planes. However, when we get into the 1980s, what we see is a flat, not non-zero, a flat curve for accidents in aviation. And the main cause is now human factors. Now, if you multiply a flat curve by an exponential growth in civil aviation, what you will get, obviously all the scientists in the room will agree, is an increase. But it's not a real increase, because it's statistically the same. Unfortunately, what that results in is a bit more death. And people don't like a bit more death, even if it is statistically the same. And so what we end up with is people challenging whether safety is in fact being compromised when it hasn't. So we now need to get into a regulated control locus for safety. So we will basically reconstruct safety out of more complex components. We will take safety, efficiency, capacity, and then we will rebuild the model. And this is a gross oversimplification of what did happen. But the people, the procedures, and the technologies associated with all of those things will now be brought into an interrelationship model. So what do you do, as in the UK, when your capacity has reached its limit? You no longer can get enough planes in the sky. Well, that gives you a problem. And what you do, as in fact what they did between 1997 and 2002, is you simply reduce the distance between the planes in the sky. It's called reduced vertical separation minimum. So you take them from 2,000 feet apart and you put them 1,000 feet apart, and now you have doubled the available airspace above your country. And people might say, well, hang on a second, is that safe? We just halved the distance between these aircraft? And the technologists were saying, no, it's still safe. We'll put this system into the aircraft. And the aircraft will detect each other, and if they're going to crash, they will automatically divert. So now it's safe. Of course it is. It's a safety transaction discussion between a procedural desire to increase some sort of global thing like capacity and a technological fix to make sure that that does not damage safety. Now this works very well and has been happening for decades in aviation until, of course, we see some more death. So, on the 29th of October 2018, which is not a long time ago, a Boeing MAX 737-8 aircraft heading for Indonesia crashed into the sea, killing everyone on board. Barely 20 weeks later, on March the 10th, 2019, another identical aircraft, under similar circumstances, crashed on takeoff, killing everyone on board. So now we have a problem, don't we? We have 346 deaths, and they're being caused by something called MCAS. All aviation uses 4-letter acronyms because it sounds more technological. The Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, forgive me for speeding through this because this is not my point, it means that this new aircraft will behave the same as the old aircraft. Because the engines are slightly further forward and the weight balance is wrong, so you have to put a technology in to stop it from basically flaring on takeoff. So you do that with the technology. Because it behaves the same as the previous aircraft, you don't need to change the safety certification. The certification argument goes away. You don't need to retrain the pilots. So a very expensive business argument disappears. In fact, Boeing didn't even need to tell the pilots that the system was there. And then the Lion Air 610 happened, and the pilots were given an advisory that if the aircraft behaved in a particular way, they might want to do something, but they were still not told that this was an automated system in their aircraft. In any case, the advice was no use, because a faulty sensor on the top of the aircraft was causing the incidents. And so when the Ethiopian aircraft crashed, the pilots did indeed try and do what Boeing had advised, and it did not work, and everyone there died as well. Boeing insisted all the way through this argument that MCAS was a flight stabilization system. It was not an anti-stall safety system. And after 346 funerals, their argument was invalidated. Their entire global fleet was grounded, the longest grounding in history. And of course, they fixed the aircraft. Of course, they did everything. And now it's safe, so we're all happy again. Unless you follow the news and you realise that there are other things afoot. What is happening? What is happening is the validity. The construction of safety here is, like the construction of circular economy and circular supply chain, is entirely complex. It's a highly complex artifice. And so safety is a complexity. It only works when the assumptions are valid. Let's do a quicker test case for monomotion. How green does green need to be? Alana helped me by describing for you the fact that these standards for low carbon, zero carbon, local carbon, whatever these things are negotiated realities, usually with industry and academia. So how green does green need to be? Well, we had a green standard for things, and we had a history of use. So in the early 2000s, many cars, a 450% increase in the production of diesel vehicles in that period, with a decrease in the production of petrol vehicles at the same time, led to a massive glut of what we then discovered were heavily polluting cars, because the government had said that CO2 reductions with diesel was a good thing, and so the manufacturers had said diesel cars were a good thing. Then we got the first shock that the scientists told them it wasn't a good thing, it was a really bad thing for other reasons. Then we got a shock to their business, because the technology hangover from all of the stock keeping units that they had in production was going to be destroyed. So they began to say, technologically this argument wasn't correct. Then they began to be reluctant, and then when that didn't work either, what they did was they just lied. So then we had the social outrage shock that hit the entire industry. Then we had the banning of vehicles, the scrapping of vehicles, massive repercussions, the phasing out of the bad technology, which used to be the good technology. Now it's the bad technology, so we'll phase that out. And what we'll do is we'll beatify, we'll increase the saintly nature of electric vehicles. Those are the solutions to this horrible problem. We are more modern, we have moved on. But a whole bunch, so now we get an anticipation of the same blurred definition of environmental is now being used in a forward way. And in the 2020s forward, we are going to mass produce vehicles that we think are better. But there's a whole bunch of us, and some of you will be included, who don't think that's true. Who don't think that the raw material, the manufacturing scalability, the lifetime, the green grid capacity to charge all these beautiful electrical vehicles is not there. We know it's not there. So the dirty grid will have to charge them. So how does this become environmentally sound? It doesn't. It's not green. How green do you need to be? So we could see an entire repeat of that same loop. Because the veracity, the absolute truth of what is being said is not proven. We're talking about local truths at temporary moments. And that's not going to do. Circular supply chain, just like environmental truth, depends on a timeless veracity for its argument. Not something that suits you now, which in a few years is going to be wrong. So let's talk about fast-moving consumer goods. Don't even need you to look at this. This is a classic supply chain pyramid about how you prioritize which things you look at in order to save your supply chain from what's called black swan or black swan risks. Don't even look. What's happening is there are basically two models for risk in there, and they're both awful. They're far too high scale. They're only looking at cost, like industry always does, and they're only looking at some sort of rough idea of scale. But black swan risks don't care that you've only got time to measure risk in two ways, so they still come. And if you don't have a sophisticated mechanism to trace the impact of geopolitical events on your company, then you're going to fall foul of them. You need better modelling. In fact, if you don't know that a very small product which completely fails that process is going to decimate a 13 billion euro brand in one move, then you're a very stupid company. You need a system to be able to understand how many of these little time bombs you've got in your organisation. And trust me, it's usually wrong. In fact, you need a system to be able to understand the behaviour of your supply chain. And it has to be a scientific system. And it actually has to measure something that is worthwhile. And this is what we mean by verisimilitude. The model that you're using to tell the world that you've got control over something better be a model which is actually a model of what is really happening. Otherwise, you're in a lot of trouble. I won't do this quote, but I saved nearly during COVID. Apparently, I was told later. This is circular supply chain. I see these diagrams all day, every day, and they're very beautiful, and they're full of enormous aspiration, but they're almost always aspirational. You see, everybody knows that to design a supply chain you have to do plans, source, make, deliver. Everybody knows that you spend to control the variables that you can. When you cannot control the variables that you can, you do joint ventures to influence the people who can control the variables. But eventually, other stuff happens. Other stuff happens in the world, and the market itself behaves. For example, before leaving for this conference, I discovered that a green power station, a sustainable, circular, let's use whatever language we like, power station, which had had £6 billion, which is 240 billion PKR, invested in it because it was a green alternative for UK energy supply, was proven to be denuding virgin Canadian forests and protected wood and burning it for the UK energy. And it took just one small team of reporters to work that out. Another casualty for the green claims. What were they thinking? That they were not going to be exposed to supply chain risk? That they didn't need to check further up the supply chain to see if the things they were saying about themselves were actually true? No, they didn't think about it at all. This is, last few slides if anybody's worried about my time. This is a complexity. What you get from a complexity is that, as we're seeing in circular economy, you get an incendiary level of optimism at the beginning of the design. You assume you can do it. Then all hell breaks loose, and then we move our academic papers to lesson learning, having never actually done the research on this bit. This is what's going to happen to you. This bit in the middle is real life. So if you attach validity, veracity, and verisimilitude to the meaning, data, and models that you use to model your green circular supply chain, then you're likely to control the vulnerability and the volatility of the substances, the systems, and more importantly, the stakeholders within that. And if you do that, you will actually be able to prove the virtue, social, economic, and environmental virtue that you believe you are supporting. But it must be a complexity. It cannot be a simplification. It cannot be a diagram. It must be real. So, If you understand your supply chain properly and profile the risks properly and have a real model of a real circular supply chain that actually works, then develop tools to be able to assess the risk for that supply chain constantly and continuously to protect its reputation and its ability to function, then you will get somewhere. Circular supply chain is not an idea. It is a complex idea. It is a complexity. And the people who design and model and deliver them must do so because they have reasoned in an intentionally complex way, not because they have simplified an argument for an audience, be that a government or the public. So what do I want you to do? I'm here till Thursday, and I have a multi-entry visa, and we can have that conversation later. Many thanks for listening to me.
Thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, our next talk of this conference is on the topic circularity, a manufacturer's perspective. Please put your hands together for Mr. Mujibullah Khan, who is the CEO of Textiles.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank Dr. Yasser and his team for organizing this great event. So I will talk about the industry perspective on sustainability. So my presentation is based around the little bit about sustainability, global challenges, impact on textile industry, what is really sustainable textile, where is Pakistan on sustainable textile, the consumer sentiment, because I'm a great believer that if we don't take the consumer sentiment into anything, then we won't end up producing the right product with some hurdles and solutions. So actually, what is sustainability in a layman's language? Is most often defined as meeting the need of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to be there. It has primarily three main pillars: social, environmental, and economic, referred as people, planet, and profits. So what are the current challenges the world is facing, especially textile world is facing? Inflation, which I think we are all impacted by it, which is reducing the buying power, consumers spending less on clothing, and global shift from fast fashion to slow fashion. So I think all the numbers we have seen in previous presentations might not be the same way. The textile will continue to grow. I think people will consume less. People will dress accordingly because of the global warming, and I think we have to think seriously about the sustainable clothing. The other thing which is very important is the change in lifestyle. More and more people are working from home. More and more people are working offline. So this is creating a big need for environment-friendly clothing, comfortable clothing, and another term which is related to slow fashion, that people are now looking at durable fashion. You'll see later. So why is textile labeled as a waste buster? Because I think a garbage truck is going to landfill every second, which is textile waste. 5.2% of our total landfill waste are textile. 2.2 years is the average. Because of the fast fashion, what happened was that people started producing clothes which were the life is very short. I don't know what it was previously, but it came down to 2.2 years, which created a lot of, I'm not going to go into detail in the interest of time, but you know, how much, you can see on the right, how much, what's the size of waste it's creating because of the reduction in the lifespan. And you know, surprisingly, billions of dollars worth garment produced or textile produced does not even reach the store. This is another big problem. So the impact of fast fashion, which is very, you know, so that's why people are more challenging, more and more to produce durable fashion clothes that last more. Our carbon emissions are more than all the carbon emission created by the maritime and air transport. 66% of clothes produced, 60% of the clothes produced are plastic. 20% of the world industrial water pollution is created by textile. You can see millions, hundred thousands of metric ton micro pollution is created by textile. Because 60% is not biodegradable. So what is the industry doing, or current status of industry? What is the industry trying to do to create the 3R, reduce, reuse, or recycle? So what, at least the first step in the right direction, where industry at least has decided to be more responsible. Shift towards more sustainable, traceable, transparent, more circular fashion, we all are talking about it, more ethical fashion, more slow fashion versus fast fashion. But then in the reality, it's all, you know, greenwashing, it's all not very transparent, it's all, because of the inflation, people are suffering from reduction in their income. I think this all is making it very complex to really move toward a more sustainable world. A little bit about global textile. Where is Pakistan, or where we are? So we are, I saw this morning, we are about $18 billion in a $900 billion industry. So we are about 2% of the total world share. So my belief, where we are in terms of Pakistan, where the textile industry of Pakistan in terms of sustainable action toward making it more sustainable, I think we are not that bad. If you look around, you know, there's a lot of awareness because our industry is designed around export, so there's a lot of push and from the buyers to be more sustainable. So I think our major sustainable practices which we are seeing are more and more people are moving towards renewable energy, environment-friendly products, at least. And I think one of the advantages we have, I discussed yesterday also, is that 70% of our product is cotton, which is very biodegradable, not labeled as sustainability buster. So we are not in such a bad shape. More and more recycling and waste reduction, ethical sourcing, our industry, I think 80-20 prevails, and 20% of industry we have here is very organized. Supply chain management, for at least for all of the top industry is not very. So what I'm trying, you know, I think because we are good in blaming ourselves, and what I wanted to share the good news is that we are not so bad in terms of textile, responsible textile sourcing or traceable and transparent. The ESG, environmental, social and governance practices, we are constantly improving that area also. The other most important thing which is creating a big hurdle from a consumer perspective, I think consumers still likes to pay more for more responsible clothing or clothing which is more sustainable. What is the they want to be more considerable before buying the decision that is created for fashion. 70% of the consumer, this is the research I collected from IBM, that 72% consumer would like to pay more if they have more knowledge about the product. They do their consumer research, they do read handbags, and especially online, people don't feel things, they read things. So what are the challenges? I think because industry or the textile is still led by fast fashion brands, so there is a lack of marketing and visibility about sustainability. But more and more brands are coming towards being more traceable and transparent in that area. Social media influence, bad news spreads around quicker, faster, lack of concern to me, I'll explain this in the next slide. I think because of the inflation, it's not, people would like to pay more, but their buying power is reducing. The lack of variety, I think there are not much sustainable clothes available, so to say. And lack of trust on brands, because it's a lot of greenwashing. What you saw in the previous slide. So these are the hurdles because for the current textile industry which they are facing, and we keep talking about them in every presentation. The most important, the worst thing which is happening, I think cost neutral, because everybody is, when there is a cost attached to sustainable practices, sustainable way of producing things, using sustainable materials, but all the brands want it cost neutral. Performance of recycled material, I think we all are talking about it, that how to improve the performance of recycled material. And this is, my favorite number 3. Well, nobody understands what real sustainability is. What John was saying also, that we're just running in after stories and then we find out that, okay, like PET bottle was very sustainable. Suddenly people realize that the BPA content in the PET bottle is causing human health harm. So now everybody wants a textile-based recycling polyester. But unless we produce polyester, then we'll recycle it, right? If people don't want to produce polyester, then how will we recycle? Textile recycling challenges, especially post-consumer. How will we collect it? How will we bring it back to the country, to the producing nations? How will we recycle them? Spend. And the complexity of, more and more countries are putting ban on export of second-hand clothing, used clothing. So, and if you look at recycling, first thing we should do is repair, then reuse, and then recycle. I think the whole emphasis is on recycling. So these are some of the solutions I could think of. Sustainable materials. I think NGO is also proactively, aggressively working on natural alternates of fibers like hemp, cotton, stencil, linen, other materials, dyeing and finishing innovation. Circular fashion. Circular fashion would not be, it's not easy to say, but it's a big challenge because how will you bring back the post-consumer waste? And the biggest thing is that I think we need to educate industry as well as the consumer. That what is the real sustainability? I don't think people understand. They just read the green level. I mean, we changed our logo. We have instead of blue, we have a green sign now. Everybody just likes to be green by putting green. Be more responsible. One way. Fast fashion to slow fashion. I know when I say this at the Textile University that please stop producing things you think are not going to sell. So because slow fashion is here now, and there are brands, especially in the West, which are only second-hand clothing brands, pre-loved clothing brands. So I think this split it. I mean, we need to reduce the production of the textile. Plus, you know, from ready-to-wear to performance textile, which means that you can have a attire which is good for summer and winter both, or maybe from 3 attires per day to 2 attires. So reduction is probably one of the best ways to be sustainable, and I can say that durability is more sustainable, the best sustainability, and the cost-effective alternative. We have to bring in, because cost neutral is here to stay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to start our today's first panel discussion of this conference on navigating the global fashion landscape and challenges and opportunities for textile manufacturers. Please put your hands together. Here we have our moderator, Dr. Shahid Rasool from Northumbria University, United Kingdom.
And our panelists are Mr. Mujibullah Khan, CEO of Textiles. Mr. Marius Golden, COO of Reverse Resources. Mr. Ben Ruiz, CEO of Textile Global.
Ms. Rachel Shehzad, Director, Arshad Groups. And Mr. Mustafa Ahmed from US Apparel and Textiles.
For this discussion, I just want to lay out the topic for discussion today. So from this morning, we have heard so many things, very innovative things in terms of textile and Pakistan's share in textile market is a global situation. I just want to start with, last year I met Chief Technology Officer Dr. Jeremy Shears from Shell, and I asked him questions that whenever Shell or bigger stakeholders in energy market, when they come to some conferences or workshops or panel discussions, they would rather talk about sustainability, net zero, and so on. They would not really talk about the cost effectiveness or the engineering solutions for the products and so on. So why sustainability and circularity and net zero, that is taking place more often than it used to be in previous years or so on. So what he said is that for bigger corporations, cost is not the token for selling the product. Sustainability, net zero, circularity, these are the tokens which sell much more relatively globally. So this is what is happening in the global market. And textile sector is not very different. What we have seen from Alana's presentation today, that there are so many regulations. What we have learned from Mujib today, that there is overall trend for slow fashion, and due to inflation, European market and probably in US market, we also see reduction in consumer behaviors, or the fashion is not that much into people's life as it used to be. And it will have a knock-on effect. So this is the situation for textile happening all over the world. For these distinguished guests in this panel, what I would like to start with is that the textile landscape of India. And Pakistan has been doing traditional textiles. What are the opportunities for textiles for Pakistan so that they can look into future, for example, with 5 years vision or 10 years vision. So where are the opportunities and where we should look for those opportunities?
Thank you very much. I must say that I'm one of the few people here in this room that is not a textile expert. So it will be very difficult to look into the future. But of course I can look at everything that you're doing is part of an organization and move forward. And in that organization move forward, there's one factor that I haven't heard too much about today. That's the human factor. In every change, you will meet humans, and humans will feel resistance against change. So if you can handle the resistance that there is in people to go about this change, you'll be able to move forward and do everything, because it seems obvious to me that the technical development here is fantastic. The knowledge is great. The international companies are here everywhere. They have their connections, but there will always be bottlenecks. And if you can handle them, you'll be moving forward in a beautiful way. I believe that Pakistan can get back into that position of competitiveness where it has been before.
Excellent. Thank you. I think being part of the industry, one of the things that we have seen is now that with Bangladesh, Vietnam, and all of these countries also involved, we're now at a level where everyone has the same skill, has the same quality, and they can offer you anything. So the selling points, as you very rightly said, are sustainability. But for Pakistan, we also need to look into not just net zeros and jump on the bandwagon like the presentation just said. We need to look into adaptation more than net zeros, right? So it's not the GHGs have to be reduced to zero, nothing will happen. Pakistan is very less than 1% of GHGs, right? So it's more adaptation strategies, and that is where now the textile industry should look for the future.
So if I could stop you, when you say adaptation strategies, what do you mean it's related?
So right now, because of the customers, we are more focused on reducing our GHGs. And which is fine, which is good. We want to be clean and do in future cleaner energy should be reduced. But Pakistan is experiencing more climatic changes as the effects by other countries, right? And we're like 0.9% in our total GHG emissions. So if today we go net zero, there's not a huge change in the world that we'll be producing. However, with these floods, with these weather changes, with these crop issues, with these land issues, we are facing a lot more damage rather than the emissions that we're producing in comparison to that. So adaptation would be how we can be more resilient to these things. How can we invest into other areas? How can we invest into agricultural practices? How can we invest into waste management practices? What can we do to make sure that we can deal with the floods? What can we do to make sure that our crop yield is doubled or tripled? And that is where I think the future lies. Because now it's not just going to be textiles, it's going to be the subsidiaries of it. So we just all jump up onto biomass plants because they were the cleaner source of energy without realizing the fact that that requires a huge number of supply chain issues which also generates a lot of GHGs. At the same moment, the waste, the ash it will generate, where does that go? And the fact that it's also a follow crop. We are an agricultural country in the end, right? So this is where we now need to invest. Let's see what we can do to make sure the practices in agricultural crops and everything change. We can have better yields, we can have those areas which are not prone to floods that can be developed, and how can these industries, supporting industries be developed in our value chains, like the waste management, like the water recycling, like the water reuse industries, and all of those. So I think that's where the future lies.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Good afternoon. So I'm brand new to Pakistan. Our company only came here for the first time last year.
So I hope that you'll come back again.
We kicked off a project, a 2-year project. So we're going to be here a lot, and after that we're going to commercialize them. But based on the experience that we've built up in the wider region and globally, I would say there's 2 things from my company's perspective with those resources. The first one is very much digitizing the flow of textiles and obviously textile waste. That has become key to participating on a global scale. Perhaps not yet as obvious, but definitely moving towards that at a rapid pace. I would say secondly, and perhaps slightly off the topic of what our company specializes in, but on which we spend a lot of time, is the compliance of the dark parts of the textile supply chain. And what we've seen typically is that darker part is the waste management part of the supply chain. And because of that, again, based on experience around the world, many countries are not willing to engage with their supply chain if all of it is not compliant. And in part, the digitizing the supply chain allows that compliance to be shown onto the entire industry much faster.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So what I believe that, we have a wrong strategy, because whenever we look at the total size of market and textiles, we look at Bangladesh and Sri Lanka and India, and we think that they are competitive. I think, to me, the market, we are cheaper Turkey and better Bangladesh. So we are in the Middle East, right? Because business initially starts, the category is there, and if you go to any exhibition, business usually starts from Europe. It used to be US now, but now it's more Portugal and Turkey. Right? So to answer your question, we need to have a strategy that what products are still being done in Europe. So like workwear, military, what products are being done in Turkey. If you go to textile, everything good was produced in West, still produced in West. The cheapest T-shirt and the most best quality basic tee is still produced in the US on overhead machines, and they're using their own equipment. So I think we need to develop a vision, and we need to segregate the market. How, what is the total? Because I can't see with this capacity from 18 billion to 40 billion. We can't, right? We don't have the energy, we don't have the, and we are primarily a cotton spinning plus country, and you can spend anything on it. So what we need to do is to do an analysis that what are the equipments, low-hanging fruits, which probably is how we can, like we do an analysis with existing product, new market, existing product, existing market, new product, new market, or new product, existing market. I think we're too confused, because when we are asked to fight, we look at Bangladesh. So let's get that business. We're not a garment country. Women don't stitch here. So we need to really refocus, look at where, if home textile is 85 billion and we think small, why are we 2 billion in that?
denim is only 20 billion and we are only 1 billion, so we still have 19 billion to gain because we have a denim industry. So I think we need to re-strategize, refocus, and look at to me $50 billion worth of business in Europe and Turkey is looking for a new market space. But we're not targeting there. We continue to be more competitive in yarns and rebates and to answer, we're not going for renewable energy for renewable energy. We're going for renewable energy because we have no gas. So we need to answer these questions more than like look at $800 billion market size and okay, we're 2%. We can't be 3% in this capacity. So we need to restart that.
I think we're building on the beliefs of it is better to understand that Pakistan has a vertical industrial setup. Like I understand the earlier one, Bangladesh is one producing country and is still doing more cotton than Pakistan. So we need to understand first Pakistan has a vertical setup. So yes, there is way more room for opportunity that we have, and we can transform our technologies and machinery to what we want. However, the problem basically is that even when we want to go into sustainable products, at this point in present time, the number is not that huge. Like, of course, we have people, we have customers who want to buy organic cotton and PCI cotton or GRS certified products, but the number is increasing, but it is slowly increasing. It's not increasing as per the rate that we're talking about. And similarly, if you ask anyone, the customers in themselves are not willing to pay the prices sustainability. Sustainability is expensive. It's not cheap, and when you go into the market, there's no price for it. So I think this is one of the biggest challenges. We all know that we have to become sustainable somehow, but that's the thing. We need to understand what kind of sustainability are we going to achieve, and are it going to be in products, is it going to be in our processes, or is it going to be something else? It may not come all together at once, but we will, I think, make a plan at least and see how we can actually achieve what we want to achieve.
Thank you.
From the discussion, I think one thing came quite obviously that adding value to what we do is very important. And especially from a global perspective, Pakistan has lots of views, lots of and that is one of the leverage we have. How do you think that? How is it possible that Pakistan can use that leverage to add value to the whole supply chain of textiles? Because it is 10% of Pakistan GDP. It's huge for us. In absolute numbers, it may not be huge, but for Pakistan it's huge. So how do you connect these dots where you have lots of young people and that you want to add value to your existing textile?
I think that's a rather complex question to ask. So
Yeah,
within 2 minutes.
I'm
sorry. That would of course implement that. To think about what do these young people think of their grandparents, because many of the textile companies in Pakistan are feminists, and of course, if I may, it may sound imperfect, but it's always like the youngsters in the end know a little bit better than their parents, right? And how you're going to make them work together. That's one of the great challenges that you have. And one possibility is they will not go, they're not going to work together, or they work together without wanting to work together. Youth may disappear to another country, working there, taking along with them what they know of their business
this is, these are the youth people who are listening to this, and they now know that what the industry is requiring. So it's not just going to be what they learn in textbooks and everything, but it's going to be something more above and beyond that, something which is more practical. So we need to maybe also see our curriculums getting more internships, practical experiences, courses which are more, applicable to the world and with the world. But at the same moment, I think it's also very truly said that it's the understanding part of it. The youth needs to understand first. Unfortunately for Pakistan, it's been a thing that we get dictated most of the things. But we need to understand it. Very rightly pointed out by both of you. We need to understand sustainability. Right? It's not environment. It's not water recycling and just GATs and everything. Sustainability is business sustainability. And we need to have business. We have to be competitive. We have to have the market shares. I mean, we're still expensive in Bangladesh, even though we don't even strategize that as a future business. This is what we need to get into the courses. This is what we need to expose these young people and these old people to. I think, plain and simple, it's now going to be about how business savvy as a nation we are. And that means not just us as an industry, but then we have to support all the other people there. And if we have the infrastructures, if we have the value